this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. Raedeen Chambers, current president of Skate Kingsville and chair of ASK, Art Society of Kingsville,
Correct.
Here to talk about the state of Skate Kingsville and a little bit of the Art Society of Kingsville and a bunch of other things about the history and the involvement in skating in Kingsville. All that more on this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. That Kingsville Podcast proudly brought to you by Kingsville Brewery. Spring in Kingsville. You start the day freezing and end it in Lakeside Park in a t-shirt. Somewhere in between, you hit 3 seasons and a pothole. You cruise down to Cedar Beach, take a walk on the Kingsville Harbor Pier and tell yourself, yeah, I'll get to yard work later.
Smells like fish.
That's when you reach for a Kingsville Brewery beer. First patio day of the year, that's a light A lager kind of day. Clean, crisp, and easier than finding parking near the Grove Hotel on a sunny Saturday. Feeling bold? Grab a hazy IPA, juicy, full of flavor, and stronger than the wind coming off Lake Erie at Metawas Park Lookout. All of these local references.
Look at that.
Isn't this read great? Like I prompted it to do that?
Word.
Or keep it smooth with a Hefeweizen. There you go. It's your favorite.
I love the Hefe.
Perfect for sitting on a bench watching the lake and pretending you're not thinking about your lawn. Walk the pier? Time for a Kingsville. Hit the park? Time for a Kingsville. Made eye contact with a goose and immediately regretted it? Definitely Kingsville.
Kingsville.
Brewed right here in town, it's made for lake views, long evenings, and those just one nights that never are. Check out the full lineup at kingsvillebrewery.com. Free delivery in Windsor and Essex. Kingsville Brewery. If you know, you know. Thank you, Kingsville Brewery, for supporting That Kingsville Podcast. Welcome to That Kingsville Podcast. It's Dave, Kevin, and Steve, and special guest Raedeen Chambers. Thank you, Raedeen, for joining us on the show. Like my radio voice?
I love your
It's
radio
great.
voice.
Hey,
It's
ladies
great.
and gentlemen. Hey, it's the local zoo, the morning. Raedeen, you are the current president for Skate Kingsville, but there's some news about the state of of Skate Kingsville. Say that 3 times fast, Steve.
I don't want to.
Okay, fine. Raedeen, what's happened?
What has happened with Skate Kingsville is as of the end of February, the club known as Skate Kingsville has folded due to many reasons. Many of our coaches have retired, moved on to other things, moved away, which has caused some coach shortages. We're experiencing a lack of volunteers, which every group experiences. We sat down as a group a year ago and knew that this was the decision that was heading our way. But what we did that was a little bit unique was we developed a plan for skating programming in the town of Kingsville to remain and hopefully be patterned under what was established by this club that was formed in 1976.
Okay, so, all right, we'll come back to that.
Perfect.
1976. Who started Skate Kingsville in the town?
The best information that I can locate, it was started by Colleen Zura
Okay.
and several of her friends who started to form a club, work together, really started off with a lot of adult skaters, a lot of older skaters, joined Skate Canada, which is the governing body for most figure skating clubs in this country, and it flourished from there.
And when did you get involved?
I got involved in 1986 when my daughter was turning 10.
So a couple of years. You've been around for a couple of years.
41 years this year.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know Steve and I, we reconnected after high school through
Skate
Skate.
Kingsville.
Yeah, and Skate Kingsville, right?
Yep.
When our daughters were young
Awesome.
and learning, because I most certainly don't know how to skate. And you could not have got me at 40 some odd years old to get on the ice with the 12-year-old kids or younger, because that's what I would have had to do. I would have had to have the little
Helpers.
yeah, the helpers. Yeah, we'll call them helpers, little red tripod thingies. But that's just a very small little bit of experience that local families and people were able to utilize.
Mm-hmm.
So back in '86,
Yes.
why was that what you wanted to do?
Honestly,
Yeah, that's
Yes.
what we're here.
my daughter was involved in a different sport in town, and I went to pick her up at practice, and I was met by a coach who said to me, that is the most uncoordinated child I've ever had in my life. And I said, well, that's why I paid you money. And we then made our way to skating registration. And at that time, it was commonly accepted that children started skating 2.5, 3 years old. First of all, there was no JK. Kids were available in the afternoon. It was a thing to do. So when I went to that registration, I was met with, she might be a little old for this. I said, well, let's just register her and we'll just give it a shot and see what happens. And she took to the ice immediately. We entered her into her first competition, knowing that she would hate it so much she'd never do it again. And that did not work out either. So the more interest that she had, the more interest that I had in understanding how the organization worked. And quite frankly, it cost a chunk of money. And I just wanted to know how all of this worked. Went to a carnival practice one day and was handed a costume. And I said, "Ooh, I don't know about this." Was asked, "Do you sew?" And unfortunately, my answer was yes. And so that's how I really started into it and developed a huge interest in the organization of the club. I personally went on to then be trained and worked for Skate Canada in other roles in data techniques and did a lot of traveling, did a lot of visiting with other clubs. So it just kind of evolved from there, as did my daughter's involvement, who went on to become a competitive skater, a coach. So it was just a natural transition for us.
For parents who are used to and know the club as it was,
Yes.
over the last 10 years, what was the difference with how the club looked back then? Like, what does that evolution look like?
The evolution has looked like less children registering because of the competition of so many sports that evolved through that time. We found it harder and harder to compete to get that group in. So during that transition time, Steve's wife, Tammy, who was coach with us as well, and my daughter, we really started looking and thinking, how are we going to change this up? We came back with a business plan. We weren't just relying on sitting at a table and hoping that children registered. So Tammy and Amanda developed a program, and our mindset was, we are now in this to teach children to skate for life. If they spend 2 years with us and they learn to skate, move on to hockey, go somewhere else, we have instilled in them the ability for the rest of their life, no matter where they go, they can put their skates on and skate. Recreationally, they can advance, whatever it is they choose to do with it. But that became our mindset. And we started pulling back from being a competitive club for high-end skaters. And we concentrated on teaching these kids to skate for life. However, we did have a mandate in place that if one of the coaches, if I noticed that there was a child that really needed that next step, we spoke with their parents and said, this isn't what we're going to offer your child here. Here are the resources to get where you need to go to get that kind of skating. As Skate Canada evolved, we did not fit the centers that they were focusing on, and those were large centers. Even if you drive into the city of Windsor and watch a can skate course or a can skate class that's taking place, you will probably see 80 children on the ice. We did not do that. We kept to a 10 student to coach ratio with helpers on the ice. We just became a smaller and smaller center, but we were delivering the best can skate and learn to skate programs that I observed traveling around the county.
Along those lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to sort of paraphrase, but there was there was a feeling amongst some local hockey coaches that while the skill level was there with some of the players, there was a noticeable, not lacking, but a difference in their skating ability compared with other teams. Was that part of the evolution too, in bringing in more of a hockey aspect than just a figure skating?
It was a huge part of the evolution, because going along with the teaching these kids to skate for life, we started really holding strong discussions with the hockey organizations here. Tammy and Amanda came forward with proposals. They went to those children on the ice to help strengthen them, and minor hockey got on board with it. It was an evolution for this area that we probably were well ahead of other centers who thought that working alongside minor hockey was the way to go and not keep fighting each other for ice. So learning to skate is learning to skate is learning to skate. If you set a child down into a hockey game and they don't know how to skate, you wouldn't put your child in soccer if they didn't know how to walk. And so that was the easy explanation for us. And minor hockey did come around. We worked with them, and Steve's absolutely right. That was a huge part of that evolution, because it still fell under teaching someone to skate.
Hearing that, and that's, I mean, it's fantastic that the club was able to evolve that way. But it also sounds like slowly it's eroding the ability for small towns to have figure skating programs. And not saying that was a decision that was the wrong decision by Skate Kingsville by any means, but also I think it's a change in landscape of what small town figure skating. I mean, when I was growing up, it's going to sound extremely sexist, but the boys played hockey and the girls figure skated, and
that's it.
Everyone did that, and it was busy, and every girl figure skated, and that's just the way it was.
Yep.
And hearing the talk of transition, it kind of sounds like the slow death of a sport.
I don't know that it's the slow death of the sport. It was, for this smaller community, a recognizing of what was needed. The difference with figure skaters, and I'm talking about high-end competitive skaters, they have no boundaries like hockey did for a long time. My daughter skated here and Wheatley and Leamington, and sometimes on the weekends in London, to get the coaching that she needed for the end of this sport that she was involved in at that time. As with the younger ones, competitive other sports started getting their fingers and creeping in. When you have a figure skater who's now in high school playing soccer, on the volleyball team, and playing basketball, where does figure skating fall into that? So it was all part of a really big evolution within figure skating. And that's where the part of figure skating boards and coaches really were tasked with seeing these girls and young guys who, if they needed more than we could offer, getting them where they needed to go. So I don't really see it as an erosion. And the world of skating through Skate Canada has done a 360 as well. When you were a young figure skater, there were probably 6 competitions any weekend that you could go to. That all went away. Skate Canada changed their processes and their competitions. So they were evolving more to a competitive scene. We did not have a double ice pad, didn't really need a double ice pad for the caliber and level of skater that was skating out of our arena, who did phenomenally well for themselves, but had to branch out into a few other clubs. The other, and this is going to sound very, very odd to someone who's not really in the figure skating world, When Skate Canada decided to do away with a program called Figures, which is the basis of figure skating, they, as an organization, said this is no longer a requirement. Coaches who coach figure skating at that time coached figure skating by driving from arena to arena to arena. When that end of it and their ability to have income started eroding away, they had to get full-time jobs somewhere else and teach figure skating on the side because there was not enough there to sustain, not unless you were in a big center like the cricket club. If you were in Toronto, then that was a different story. But in areas like this, it just wasn't feasible to keep coaches. Coaches could not make a living on the hours of ice that a small club could afford to contract.
Is this something that's happening across small towns?
Everywhere. Every small town, yes. Yeah.
And to your point, they still did focus. There was still
Absolutely.
figure skating centric programs that they ran. It wasn't just like, oh, let's make sure they can all play hockey, boys and girls. They still had, Star Skate.
Star Skate, yeah. And last year was the first year that we did not offer Star Skate. Up until that point, we had a very large contingent of older figure skaters who worked through. In figure skating, there is a competitive end and there's a testing end. And a testing end is a constant working through to get a gold level in whatever discipline you're working in at that time. We took our girls who were working in that and branched away from their parents being burdened with private lesson costs, and we rolled it into their registrations. So it was an upfront fee. Tammy and Amanda ran the program. Those girls progressed just like every other figure skater in every other club. We just approached it from a completely different angle. When we were able to say to a parent, this is your registration, and it looks very, very high. However, you're not going to be seeing these private bills. You're not going to be seeing costs for music. You're not going to be seeing costs for costuming. It was one fee rolled in. And what sustained that program for a lot of girls was the Mayor's Golf Tournament that supports sports here in town. We had a lot of skaters who were able to stay with us by getting funding through that organization.
So back in the 80s, when you were, just getting your feet wet.
Yep.
How many volunteers did you have year over year that were repeat or long term? Or what did it look
12
like?
to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were big boards.
Yeah.
I mean, we held elections and not everybody got a seat at the table. It was because we all had a vested interest and we all had, especially for the older skaters, as I said, this was an expensive sport.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone had an interest in this, and everyone we were clawing for ice. Amanda skated in the mornings at 6:00 before school, and then after school, and then again, because that's what was available.
Yeah.
But this past year, there has been a lot of ice sitting empty in our local arena. Some of that has to do with the taking down of the borders for minor hockey. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is the competitive with so many other sports being offered. You have to bring something very, very unique to the table. And then if you register John, he's probably got a little sister who's skating, but then Billy over here is playing soccer. So it just became a decision for families.
Yeah, splitting time.
And times.
Yeah, it used to be that soccer was a summer sport, but
Right.
now a lot more of them go year round.
Right.
Baseball does off-season training and
Hockey.
it's-
Yeah.
yeah, there's more demand for
It's hockey tryouts right now. Like
Yeah.
hockey tryouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like tonight.
Yeah, like tonight. Yeah.
You
So
guys going?
I'll
So
be
you-
there later.
you start to see through the years, through the 80s and the 90s, what was the peak of the club here locally? What was when you feel that Skate Kingsville was at, with your tenure,
Mhm.
at its peak?
I'm going to say late 90s, early 2000s.
Was it?
We had a very large contingent of high-end skaters who went provincially, nationally, and we probably were doing 2 to 3 can skate sessions a week, which is the entry level, and then probably 5 to 6 can skate A and the next levels through the week. It was a booming operation. We probably at that time employed 6 to 7 coaches at all times. So it was a lot.
It was sustainable.
It was a staple.
Feel free to name drop some of those top skaters that
Some
you've
of the-
seen.
Yeah.
I mean, who? Like,
they're all
obviously,
local.
we know Amanda went from being very uncoordinated to very successful.
Exactly, she did. Yeah, we had Stephanie Allen was in that group. Both of the Stinson girls, Haley and her sister Lindsay, were in that group. Name is escaping me. The mayor of Windsor's stepdaughter.
I'm trying to think of who I remember too from
The
those
Paroli
days.
girls. There were 3 of the Paroli girls that were very competitive skaters. We had
Gorbold?
Tamara Gorbold. We had a pair skater. I believe one was from
Aaron Thompson.
Aaron Thompson
Yes.
and his
High school
partner.
friend of mine.
Yep, went just below national levels for competitions. So we had we were well known. We were also well known as being the flagship place to run a can skate program.
So we were discussing like the size of Kingsville. What other communities in Windsor-Essex County had programs similar to Skate Kingsville, or was that the only?
Harrow has always had a very, very strong competitive club, and a very, probably not as big a can skate program as we did, but a very strong competitive older club, and so did Wheatley.
So of those, who's left?
Wheatley is still operational. Harrow is still operational.
But not to the numbers, not to the significance that they once were.
I don't know of any club that is,
Yeah.
especially where the older end is considered. Yeah.
I always find it like amateur sports are honestly, they fascinate me with the way that the Olympics kind of interplays with the popularity of what the local sports look like, and how good Canada does, and then the trickle down effect that happens throughout the federation.
Right.
And if Canada does well, then things are good. If Canada doesn't do well, then all of a sudden there's changes to try and make sure that Canada does well in the future. What with your work with Skate Canada, what did that look like on the inside? Where in the late 90s, where Kingsville was booming, is about the same time that figure skating in Canada was probably at one of its peaks.
Elvis Stoico.
Right. Yeah. And it hasn't really on for the zeitgeist of the culture. It hasn't really got back there.
No, it has not. Yeah.
What does that look like on the inside when you're seeing what's happening?
It looks like a world where the haves and the have-nots became very distinct. When Canada didn't do as well with figure skating, the funding starts to drop, as does the sponsorships start to drop. In figure skating, let's just say for argument's sake, there was a skater here in Kingsville that was on track and was on fire. And we would have reached out to Skate Canada. They would have sent someone down to start evaluating, looking at these. When those dollar figures start to come into play, and what a family is now going to be looking at to support that skater away from home, sometimes it's just a decision that a family would have to make. But from the inside, it was a constant struggle for funding to keep these kids going. And it was a real influx at that time of coaches from other countries who came in with a little bit higher name, who could then go into a very large center and start making, really, they called them stables of students. And it just became a decision that I think many families had to make, was if they had these kinds of resources to foster this and keep these kids going. There's only so much that can be done. It certainly is not a lack of ability with any of these skaters, but it's a different training program. It's a different lifestyle. And it just, you lost that grassroots kid coming in out of nowhere and being taken under someone's wing and being developed and had that natural talent. I also, I am not a trained coach. I sincerely believe that these skaters are born. It is very difficult to train that. You can give them all the work ethic. You can give them all of that. It is something that is born in some of these kids. And when you're not, and they have the ability now, this is a global scene with skating.
Yeah.
Skaters who train in this country compete at the Olympics and compete at Worlds for countries all over the world. But they are here training. They have the resources and they have the money. And this is still a premier training ground for skaters. But what you're not seeing is so many of the Canadian names rising up through those ranks.
Right.
You find maybe social media has a little bit to do with it?
I find social media has a great deal to do with it.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was there somewhat of a transition as social media became more and more prevalent over the last decade, that those classes each year kind of exponentially decreased? Was it, not a gradual decline, or was it a sharp downturn?
I think it was very gradual. I think the whole social media thing in all of my life aspects was a gradual thing that I'm not sure I realized was going to have the encompassing that it ended up having.
I don't think any of us did.
I don't think we did. And I think, like everything else, once you get, plus Skate Canada evolved into a situation where for years amateurs couldn't get a dime. And then they started loosening those purse strings a little bit, where you could go and get certain sponsorships and you could go and get certain things. When Tammy and Amanda skated, if they volunteered with their club, all we could offer them was a receipt against their registration. No money. Like that, they were amateurs. That slowly unraveled to where a skater, some of those kids are bringing in $500,000 a year in sponsorship money, which is governed, which is looked at, but it's still a totally different world.
Well, they needed basketball players at the Olympics.
There you go.
Right? The dream
Right.
team. That's what changed everything.
That's what changed it.
Yeah, there was the commercialization of other popular sports that just kind of sidelined those that were, like you said, more
Exactly.
grassroots. So
Yeah.
Now the impact within the town. So you having 41 years, as you've explained, did you start to see like the community embracing it? Did you start to see more and more of the families kind of take on this persona as things progressed? That they, you have hockey families, you have that travel hockey kind of persona. Was
I think when I
culture
really
change?
saw the culture change, Skate Kingsville every year put on a very lavish carnival, and it was a huge event. And it was usually a 2-day show, and the preparation and the costuming and the money that went into it. And we were starting to get some grumbling. So we sent a survey to all of our membership and said, do you prefer that your child spend all those weeks learning how to skate, or do you want a carnival? And it was a resounding, I want the skating lessons. So we made the decision at that point, we would do away with the carnival. We replaced it with small in-house galas and things like that. But we no longer had a carnival. The other surrounding clubs kept theirs, which also is a draw for an older skater. We chose to go with what our membership said to us. And that was part of our business plan. We're offering a service and someone's paying for it, and we need to do what the customer seems to want out of their service, which led us to really get into the power skating end of this thing. which for many years subsidized the other kids' skating fees because it was such an amazing program. Amanda and Tammy had made a name for themselves. This was the place where you wanted to come for power skating.
So what was specific about power skating?
It's the entry into hockey.
Yeah.
It's the skill development that parents started to become aware of as to why my child is not doing quite as well on the hockey bench. So it was and to us was the next natural progression in teaching you to skate for life. These kids were very into hockey. They wanted to see those results. However, we had boys sign up for power skating who never wanted to pick up a hockey stick in their life. They wanted to learn that level of skating. So it was an amazing program. When they took the borders down, it went by the wayside because we worked very carefully with minor hockey to schedule power skating on the nights when they didn't have a practice. But now when you've branched these kids out into every arena in this area for practice, there is no specific night that we could offer power skating.
So through that evolution of minor hockey, because that was something that really happened in the last 20 years.
Yes.
When we were kids, it was you played house league and there was one travel team and that was the best. But as it kind of went twofold, right? There was the evolution of how minor skating or minor hockey, I should say, was and the clubs that facilitated it, but also girls hockey.
Absolutely.
It quickly became a very, very popular thing within the community. So did you start to see that, some of those girls that would have been figure skaters started leaning towards the power skate to go into hockey because that was quickly becoming what their group of friends were doing?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and then that evolution. Did you see any kind of fall back towards recognizing when they were in power skate that this is the reason why they were interested in hockey, or was it more of a, my friends are doing it, so I'm interested in minor hockey?
I think the interest from the girls themselves was to be in minor hockey. I don't think it was a peer pressure, a peer kind of movement. I think it was something that they saw being televised and something that they realized they could do if they knew how to skate. In the world of figure skating, you go off to a competition and you're skating against 15 girls and you might come out in the top 3. You might. On a hockey team, that's a totally different aspect. What we did find was the girls who had started out with us in figure skating made that transition like this because they knew how to skate and they were making the teams and they were not sitting on the benches because they knew to skate.
Yeah.
So that was the evolution that we saw. And I think it compounded with everything that we felt as an organization was where this was all headed to. We saw it and we did what we thought was going to be best for skating programs in Kingsville.
So on the lines of evolution, what happens now with the club folding?
Okay. We made a very conscious decision last year when we knew this was going to happen to leave a legacy of skating programs here in town to the best of our ability. We knew that they probably were going to become private enterprises. Skate Kingsville was a not-for-profit organization. We started working with a gentleman who spent an entire year with us learning our programs. He was very familiar with Amanda and Tammy. He was very familiar with their skating concepts, with their integrity level. He worked with us for the entire season with the intent of going to the town with a proposal to offer skating in Kingsville. We've had that meeting with the town. It has gone extremely well. I do not know if that has been finalized. I was only on the entry-level meetings to explain to the town what was happening, that as Skate Kingsville, we were giving this man the stamp of approval, that he was going to be able to bring back to the town programs that the town was used to having here, just not under the umbrella of Skate Canada.
So, I'm sure we'll hear about whether or not that comes to fruition soon. It's got to be something that council is going to have to table in order to fund or create room for. And if they've not understood what the value of Skate Kingsville brought, and I think some people got to get a little bit more vocal.
I don't know if that would have to go to the council, because essentially it's just a private individual renting ice time.
Yep.
Insurance.
Well, and I don't know what the rules are, but is it that if there isn't an organization offering a certain program, is it incumbent on the municipality themselves to offer that?
That seems to be the chain of command. Yes.
Okay, so this would be something that potentially they would have to approve.
I would assume because of insurance. That's just listen.
He has his own insurance.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
of course.
He is an operating business in his own right and does this in many. It will be whether the town of Kingsville wants to offer him an ice contract. That's really what it's going to boil down to. Now you have user policies that are in place, so how that's going to all play out for him. But the difference is he is not a nonprofit organization. He is a business offering a service to the town. So I don't know that would go to council, but it may. I'm not positive.
Do you see a difference for kids if whether or not it's a sanctioned club or not?
I do not. And the reason I'm so confident in saying that is because of the time that this gentleman has spent with us. He spent all year working with Tammy, whether he reaches out to Tammy to further come on to his organization and continue skating. He comes with the exact same concepts and the exact same thought process of how this should work as we did. The difference is we were a nonprofit organization. It runs a business to provide this service. From the things that he has presented to town, they should see no difference. Kids skating under this program will still be eligible to apply for funding. There really is, they should see other than seeing Skate Canada's logo on their kids' ribbons, I'm not sure that they're going to notice that there's going to be any difference.
You might not be able to answer this, which
Kevin's grilling you now.
I just said one thing that actually piqued my interest, and if you can't comment, that's fine.
Okay.
Why was there so much empty ice time?
I'm not privy to exactly why. My personal estimation is because of open borders.
Yeah, and with all the hockey teams opening up their jurisdictions of pulling in kids to play on those teams, right? There's however many sheets that would have had house league teams or those town teams that now, because they fold, right? Like there's kids in Windsor that play in South,
which is interesting. You say that, but I heard lots of stories of parents going to practices. Kingsville parents going to practices at 6 a.m. in Amherstburg because it's the only time they could get ice time.
But it's also because that's where that team
told them to go.
And not only that, but as I've found with a few people that I've been associating with, the parents are now valuing those independent programs because they feel that the coaching is better. So they will drive their kid to Chatham, Kent, or to Tecumseh because of what that club is offering.
It's an interesting evolution, right? Because it was not
long
ago where there was clamoring for 2 ice pads.
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, and it was because of all the Kingsville teams, right? All the house league teams, all of the high school teams, all of the other associations, like the men's leagues,
homeschooling, men's leagues, women's leagues, all of it,
all of it,
right? Had to all share that pad, and to your point, that was at the peak of, I guess, all sports combined in our little town. And then as Raedeen pointed out, when you open the borders and kids aren't, collecting in Harrow or Kingsville necessarily. They're all flooding towards, and it changed some of the way that those kids are playing because, the different levels of capability. Essex, I think, in a certain age group had 5 house league teams, and they played Friday nights exclusively, kind of thing. So it was weird how those open borders changed.
Before we get into the Art Society stuff,
what's next?
It's funny how you mentioned that we reconnected. We were in, was it Home Depot 21 years ago, and Tim and I were just dating.
Oh, is this the story? You're bringing the story?
And I saw Raedeen, and Raedeen and I kind of knew each other in passing a little bit. We dealt with each other a little bit. And I said, "Oh, this is my girlfriend Tammy," and she just kind of looked at me, "Hi," and I said, "She coaches figure skating." Well, hello. And it was sort of
I was going to ask.
Why is he introducing her and then okay, let's talk.
Yeah, because we know how Kelly
what
got
that
involved.
led to was obviously a great friendship with Amanda and Mark for
Absolutely.
Tammy and I, and just all kinds of other connections and value into our lives through skating. And I, like you, and I think like you, cannot skate.
I can't skate.
So, and people
3
always
horrible Canadians.
I would get teased, A, because I couldn't skate, but B, because I couldn't skate and was married to a figure skating coach.
Yeah.
But as an aside, we had a deal that when we got married, I either had to learn to skate or ski. So
Hey,
There you go.
I chose skiing.
it's more cushion.
It was a phenomenal run. Things happened in this community because of Skate Kingsville and things that involved Skate Kingsville. And obviously the first one that comes to mind is Hockeyville.
Mm-hmm.
What I know about hockey is there's a black thing like this on the ice. That's all I know about hockey, and it's all I ever wanted to know about hockey. And then Hockeyville came along, and I realized there was money to be had. So Skate Kingsville jumped in with both feet, and we became part of that whole Hockeyville thing, which led to us then being the community as a whole being a United Way community of light. And then it led to an extreme build when we didn't win the $200,000. And somebody's wife said to the contractor sitting next to her, "Build these people a house. They'll sell it. They'll make their money." And then the extreme build was built.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been, there were many, many tears shed over this, as you can well imagine. But it has been a run like no other. When you stand at a registration table and you are registering the grandchild of a kid you registered, it clicks of what this community has given to Skate Kingsville and what Skate Kingsville has given back to this community.
Yeah, that's essentially the heart of it. And that's why we were very thankful that you took the time out of your night to come and talk with us, because
I'm glad to.
as we've had this show, which is not the news. We've talked.
We're not the news.
Thank you, Gary. Gotta love that hot button. There's a lot of people that get taken for granted. I don't mean that in the negative sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a given, and when it's gone, it's missed. We've talked ad nauseum about the reporter
6 years.
because that was a significant part about the fabric of our town and our community, and other organizations like Skate Kingsville were one of those standards that, hey, it's the fall, kids are going to be doing skating soon. So hit the registration at the arena, pay the registration fee, make sure, it's Tuesdays at 7. All right. Get that one there. Yep. Age groups are one after another. Perfect. And that was the fabric of our lives.
Absolutely.
Right? And generationally too, which is another thing that a lot of, Kevin, long term. Well, you're pretty much close. You're long term enough,
one
Kingsville.
of us now.
Getting there.
One of.
He's got a quarter century in, I think.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Close.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
we'll get you a ribbon.
Cool.
Skate Kingsville.
There you go. We got a few.
Participation ribbon, but that's exactly it. Like you say that the parents and the children, the grandchildren,
Yes.
and I think that was that sentiment and that importance that got passed down generationally. And that's why I asked the questions about culture.
Yep.
Right? Kingsville and culture that we'd had that just generically started from people and volunteers that took time out of their days and their schedules and their passion to be able to provide that for the town. And it's not ever pretty, and it's not easy, and it takes a lot of effort, and there's a lot of frustration. I'm sure you had many a times when you were like, forget it.
For a few.
We're done. But you didn't.
No,
and
we didn't.
For that, you have to take personal pride in
I do.
in what you've done, and for all of your efforts and your volunteers' efforts. And we talk about Kelly and Tammy because those women had
Amanda,
sorry, Kelly. Sorry,
She
Amanda.
was probably really good.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Amanda, I
well,
apologize.
there's a lot of people we've met through skating.
There's a ton. There's a ton, and the efforts and the passion that they had to be able to teach children.
Yes.
And say, hey, I know how to relate to you. I can identify your skills, your needs. I can tailor my approach towards you. Mm-hmm. I'm welcoming, and I will teach you something if you will learn. And so many people did.
And they wiped a lot of tears.
Tons of tears.
Wiped a lot of noses. Picked a lot of kids up off the ice, but all for the greater good.
For the greater good, for the community.
And then to be in the grocery store on Sunday and say, hi, Coach Amanda. Or hi, Coach Tammy. Yeah. We had a child one season who had a great deal of heart surgery in London, and Carnival was coming up. And she was very upset that she was not going to be able to skate. And their theme was, I don't know, Blue Submarine or something, I don't know. And a dad showed up at the arena, and he had taken an old sled and taken the runners, and he built her a boat. And the other kids pulled her around. And that's what it was all about for all of us. So, but it was a tremendous run. It was.
Have there been any talks with the town on a way to memorialize it?
Not that I'm aware of. I will be addressing the town once I know what's happening with the person who has come forward with the proposal. And I had asked that I do that, and they had asked that, of course, we do that, and that the town be, and council and the community be cognizant of what's gone into this. And although it's an ending and a sad ending, if they move forward with this other proposal, it's going to kind of continue. He is very, very community minded, extremely so. He's of our fabric. It's not like there's some guy rolling in from Toronto. This is a totally different situation. He is a local person, and he's put a lot into this. And if he manages to be lucky enough to snag Tammy to work along with him, then it'll all be great. But it's a transition, that's for sure. It's
and I'm sure it's reassuring that you've had some participation in somewhat of that succession plan, and you've got a feeling of capability, and that everything that you found important, and the volunteers found important, is at least at this point in time part of the plan going forward. So, but you are involved in another community organization.
I am involved in another community.
Good. That's a good one. I like it.
Ask Art Society of Kingsville.
Yes.
At the Carnegie Center in downtown Kingsville.
So,
current president?
Current chair. Chair of
the board. So Ask has been pretty prevalent over the years. We've got a huge arts community, regular art shows at the Carnegie Center. Yes. And if our listeners haven't participated and are gone to the Carnegie, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? So many different artists, local crafters, artisans that display from all age ranges. Yep. You can buy some of it. We bought lots of art, but what's going on with Ask in 2026? In
2026, Ask is kind of entering into a brave new world. We've thankful to the predecessors of the board who laid a foundation. We as an organization now are moving forward. We're making some tweaks. The gift shop that operates out of the gallery is very, very successful. We're increasing the footprint of that and increasing our visual exhibits to what we're referring to as wow. When you walk up the steps of the Carnegie and you look in the door, you're going to say, wow. There are amazing artists in this area, and we struggle a lot with that term. What is an artist? I don't paint. I don't sculpt. I work with a completely different medium, but we're all in it for the exact same reason. We are also the tourism ambassadors for the town of Kingsville. So the Carnegie is the tourism center as well. So we have volunteers 2 a day, 10 to 4, every day except Tuesdays, who interact with the tourists that come into town. That becomes, it's probably my favorite part of the day because I do like to talk.
It's not a bad trait.
Not a
It's
bad
fantastic trait.
I've lived here since 1979, very familiar with the area. But we just seem to meet a wide variety of persons. This year, our mandate and our focus is on youth. Apparently, youth in schools are not getting quite the amount of art exposure that they used to because of many reasons. We're just finishing up a series called Mastering the Masters, where kids between the age of 8 and 12 come on Saturdays. And although we're not asking them to replicate the masters, we are showing them a Van Gogh picture. And we have an artist come in who teaches them to look at the Van Gogh picture and what would you do with this yarn to do something like what Van Gogh did. And it's had an absolutely amazing, phenomenal success to the point now where we have parents asking if we can do an adult class. So we have many artisans who do classes in that building every day. We are granted by the town of Kingsville to run a program called Creative 55, which is targeted to those 55 and over, to come and get an introduction to an art medium. So those run right now every other Thursday in the Carnegie, and they are always booked solid. If we had 3 more buildings, we could do that as well. So we have a really good relationship with getting the idea of art and creativity out into the population. We sell an amazing amount of books in that gift shop, and mainly from local artists that people have no idea that we have that kind of talent in this area. So it's been, so we're working on a huge project for Migration Fest weekend. We've been approached by a lady who is doing a migration of butterflies, but she's taken it to the step that she has followed these butterflies right into Mexico. So what she's doing is going out into the community. She tells this entire story. Each person is given a butterfly to decorate and color however they like and put a message on the back. At the end of all of this, these butterflies are coming to Kingsville, to the Carnegie, and we will be displaying them and having interactive things going on during Migration Fest weekend. She sought us out because of the reputation that we have. Mm-hmm. So we've immediately gone to the town, made sure that the green space was available, and that is going to be our part of Migration Fest. So down in the park where all the kids' events are, there will be signage saying, follow the migration butterfly. So it's just, those are the kinds of things that we're looking to bring forward as art, because they are art. We're going to have, in the month of June, we've been approached by, I think they're the Little Purple Theater. No, the Purple Theater. They're coming into the Carnegie and doing a 3-person live theatrical performance. We'll be seeing them 4 or 5 times. They're the same group that does the haunted walk out through Heritage Village during Halloween. They're also granted funds through the town of Kingsville. So it's all of these collaborative things that are just kind of coming together for us. So and this, like I said, has been built on the back of the founders of this organization. So we're just we have some board members who have joined who are of a younger generation, and we still have our veterans. And so we've kind of formed this cohesive group where everybody's got these amazing ideas, and we're moving forward to that, where our membership is up over 204 and in a community this size, that's pretty amazing. We have 2 volunteers every single day in the Carnegie. So 30 days out of the month, that's a lot of volunteers that we have on staff that are providing these services and providing tourism information to the town of Kingsville.
Yeah, everybody's an ambassador, right? Even
We have renamed them from volunteers to Carnegie Assistants because they are our ambassadors to the community for tourism.
And what's the social media presence for Ask? Facebook or anything?
AskKingsville.ca.
Facebook, Instagram. We have a board member, Melissa Wiper, who, although she's not aware of it, is the Energizer Bunny's little sister. Because
She does now.
this girl will post on social media from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, and she just has amazing concepts. I was there today, and one of our volunteers brought in a big piece of art that she was working on because she was going to be there for a while. So she set up a table, and she was working on this piece of art. So I went back, and I took some pictures, and I posted on social media. Not only can you just come in here and see something hanging on the wall, you can pop in here and see an artist creating these kinds of things. So it's been a challenge. It's a field that I really wasn't used to, but organization is organization. Just, some things go a little smoother than other things, and every organization works through that. But it's been embraced. These I don't want to call them upgrades because there was actually nothing wrong with the Carnegie the way it was. We're just making it a bit more of a wow space. We have a collaborative show going on with one of the galleries in Windsor who reached out to us and asked for our members to be in their gallery. And we did the same thing in Leamington in January. So we're really building that kind of a community effort.
Again, one of those things, the fabric of community.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So, well, Raedeen, I got an announcement first for another local group.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up. But thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that with us. So we have had second Kingsville Scouting on the show in years past.
Oh yeah, they were going to the Jamboree last
They
year.
were going to the Jamboree, and this year they've got some members that are going to the Jamboree as well, and they're kicking off a fundraising initiative. This year they've partnered with a couple of other scouting groups from around the county, and they're having a $3,000 gift card raffle. So if you're interested in helping support their efforts and the mission to get to the Jamboree, check out their Facebook, Second Kingsville Scouting, or they've got their email address, second2ndkingsvillescouts@gmail.com. Reach out if you want to support, buy some raffle tickets. Maybe it'll be $3,000 in the plus for gift cards, and help out another local community group. So again, Raedeen, thank you.
You're welcome.
Like I said before, your efforts and the efforts of the volunteers that have participated with Skate Kingsville and Ask are the reasons why people who visit and live in Kingsville find it so important. That's why there's passion about how things go, what the town looks like, what happens. And it's for reasons that there's individuals like yourself that give. And from us and our families, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully everybody who listens and watches and sees it's theirs, we're like, I remember.
I remember.
Yeah.
With little Sally, but I'm sure we'll see you in and around town and
Sure you will.
and whatnot. But thank you for joining us on That Kingsville Podcast. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.
We're not the news.